WellPro dropped a GBB AK12. And before you judge a book by its cover, because let's be honest, that cover looks... Because what makes the inside of this book so unique is the internals are not built like a standard AK. They're actually modeled after Tokyo Marui's famous AKZ system. Basically what that means is instead of modeling the FCU like its real steel counterpart and modifying it to take GBB mags, these were externally designed to look just like their real steel counterpart with a different build of internals to function better and more efficiently on gas systems. We'll talk more about that later, but first things first, I want to let you know this is not my first experience with WellPro. You see, a little less than a year ago, I had the luxury of reviewing the WellPro PubiixCubez, which was sent to me for an unbiased review from Lancer Tactical, and to date, I stated that this was the, if not one of the best performing GBBR replicas that I have ever reviewed or held on this channel. And honestly, almost a year later, that still stands. Which blew my mind because at the time, WellPro was known for making affordable replicas and not good ones. Basically, WellPro decided they wanted to completely reinvent their brand, dive into gas blowback replicas, and drop an AK12, and I mean, with my past experience, I have a lot of hopes. And just like everything on my channel, it is my real opinion, but even more so, I purchased this myself. By myself. The AK-12 comes in an unmarked box with a manual and a sheet of foam. And of course the AK-12, or I guess WE-09. You can also expect to find these in two different variants, the AK-12 and the AK-23. I got the 12, the 23 just has a longer barrel. Another thing that I want you to note for the rest of the video is these also come in two different versions, the V1 and the V2. The V2 has a slightly longer bolt travel, and you can also expect the V2 to come ready out of the box with an end pass. On the V2, the mag latch also sits a little bit lower, which means it's completely compatible with all of the Tokyo Marui AK mags. Your V1s aren't going to be, so you're going to have to use the WellPros. The first time I picked this thing up, I will say it's a little bit smaller than I thought it was going to be, which isn't a bad thing. It's also an absolute brute. There are absolutely no wobbling parts. Everything is rock solid, stable, and in place. This giant boot of a stock comes with a rubberized butt pad. The entire thing is made of polymer with a lever in the back. You can extend it to 7 different adjustment positions by pushing the lever all the way to one side. It doesn't push to the opposite. Comes with a place to hold your pins, kind of like the HK replicas, a sling point, ambidextrous sling attachment points on the sides for QD, and a cheek weld that you can lift up and out of the way with only one adjustment up and one adjustment down. A button on the side to side fold the stock, it folds off to the left side, locks in place, and then open it again. You're just going to pry this guy all the way back out. And again, there's minimal wiggle there. Before we get to the funky grip, I want to show you kind of a big, not red flag, but the big thing that most people notice when they look at these is the wicked, weird fire selector switch that kind of looks like the best of both worlds from an AK and an AR. It is ambidextrous. You can adjust it from both the right and left side. It locks into a semi-auto and a safe switch. When it locks in place, it's pretty sturdy with very little movement. I can imagine you can tighten that down just by tightening this small little screw. And you'll see the cutout in the top. That's for locking the bolt handle back. It doesn't work on the GBB variant. However, on your real stills, that's what it's supposed to do. The lower portion of your user interface with the grip and the trigger guard are all one giant proprietary chunk of plastic. It doesn't feel super great, and you can't replace it with anything unless you throw some 3D printed trigger guards in there and then a different mount for aftermarket grips. The grip is a giant flared design with some panels for grippage that don't feel the greatest, honestly, and some parts of the polymer, I don't know if you could see it, are a little, I could feel it. It's a little bit mushy. Definitely not my favorite thing in the world. Now, while the external parts of the mag catch and latch are plastic, the actual important connection point is steel, just covered with a plastic sheath. You have your standard AK mag release, but also ambidextrous index releases. I want to go for something a little bit more futuristic. Let's see how that trigger plays. It is an AK trigger, but it's got like Tokyo Marui Z system, so it might be a little bit better. It's a straight wall. There's nothing there, no give. It's like hard and mushy to pull. No noticeable break, and very little over travel. The reset is aggressive, and it really does push your finger forward, so you can feel that. And there's a small, like, millimeter worth of distance travel past the reset. Yeah, it's better than an AK trigger, because it's like a Tokyo Marui style AK trigger. but it's still an AK trigger. Lock the mag in place like any standard AK. You're gonna rock and lock. There is no noticeable click or set in place. It kind of just mushes down and sits still. I will say though, there's almost no movement up and down, forward and backwards, side to side. This thing is one of the most aggressively seated in place AK mags I think I've ever seen. Now this whole dust cover system with the rail and the rear iron sight are actually really unique. The rear iron sight has a small picture that you can adjust with elevation just by pressing it down and rotating the dial. If you don't press it down, the dial will not rotate. And where most people would avoid throwing an optic on the dust cover of an AK, this you should be okay with because it actually has 2 points of contact instead of just one. With standard AK dust covers, they're very wobbly and they don't hold zero very well because they rattle a lot and they also move around. With the AK12, unlike the AKs where you have a button in the back and then it sits in a small little like clamshell spot up in the front of the trunnion, this is pinned in place, and then there's a setting of 2 pins and latches at the rear that hold the dust cover in place, which help keep it so much more stable. So installing sights on the dust cover of an AK are now something that you can do without worry. The handguard is a huge polymer chunk of plastic with some adjustable points to throw these rail covers that come on the sides. You can move these to the back or you can move these to the front if you so please. It is proprietary from my understanding. There's nothing else that you can do to change this. It rocks solid, and unlike the grip piece, it's not flexible or moldy at all, so that's really nice. Your barrel and your gas block are both metal, plus it's got this small little swivel mount that you could throw a sling on. It just moves the entire time, that I don't know that I'm a big fan of because you can hear it moving around. I'm sure it rattles too when you're firing. And then a 14mm counterclockwise threaded adapter that's actually grub screwed in place, so don't go screwing that without releasing the grub screw, otherwise you're going to tear apart your threads. Now, one of the only downsides of it being a TM mock-up is the fact that in order to adjust the hop-up, there's a dial that's on the furthest side of the hop-up unit. So you kind of have to take everything down if you want to get to it without problems, and you could see the adjustment wheel on the left side of the hop-up unit. And again, for all my V2 users, you also have the ability to adjust your power output by a small grub screw directly deep in the center of your nozzle, and you can increase or decrease the amount of gas that flows through your valve. The mag, on the other hand, is absolutely huge, and it's really cool. It comes with a flat panel on the back that helps when lying in the prone position to stabilize it, almost like a mock bipod in a way. It's got a giant aluminum case around a plastic body, plastic feed lips that are chunky and thick, and I don't think you'll have any problems with those breaking. The gas router up at the top, stop on empty, plus your valve, and your fill valve right on the back. These things are really cool. I think they look futuristic, and I'm a big fan of them. Just going to be a little hard to index into any of your mag patches, I think. 0.25 gram BBs for the rest of the video because it's the cheapest thing I have, and the mag, and yes, it will work and load easily with the T238 speed loader. Brand new container of Coleman propane and a Jaeger precision adapter. You know, we like to keep it cheap around here, and I just want you to know what kind of things I'm using to propel these BBs. While a 7 to 10 second gas fill is probably all you need, I'm going to push this thing to the limit and fill it until I can't hear movement anymore. Also, we didn't load it with anything more than 30 BBs because that's what the manual states to do. With 30 BBs per mag and a reservoir this size, I'd imagine it's efficient on gas, but there's only one way to find out, and that is to test it out. So we're going to go ahead and load this guy in. We'll start it on semi, and I want to see how many mag fills of BBs we can get out of a single gas fill. And we'll start with the first mag. This is not the first time that I'm firing this, but I'll give you my real and honest opinions on how it feels. 3, 2, 1. All right, first of all, the kick there is, I don't want to say hard. It doesn't feel like it's recoiling a lot back at you. However, it does feel like a lot of power is going into the front of the replica. It almost kicks harder forward than it does backwards. For an AK as well, unlike something like me who's very familiar with the GHKs, oh, that is so snappy. And we are out of BBs. Obviously, there's not going to be any lockback. Let's fill it with another set of rounds. Mag number 2, gas fill number 1. Here we go. That thing feels awesome to fire. I mean, the sound is just unreal. That sounds more like an AK than the GHKs do, in my opinion. I love the snappiness behind that. Now, before we do the third mag in, I just wanted to let you know, for some reason, I don't know if maybe something's coming loose or not, but you see this grip piece? I don't know if you could hear it. It's like a little loose. I don't know if that's just because of the malleability of the plastic itself, or if something is coming loose that just needs to be Loctited in place. Hopefully, it's something that I can fix. Third mag. With no cooldown, that was like maybe 5 shots. So 2 full mags, we'll call it, on semi. Let's flip it to fun mode and see how it functions on auto. Now, I wouldn't say with a gas reservoir this large that kind of efficiency is good. 2 mags is great, but I feel like with something this big and only 30 rounds, I should be getting more out of it. Just food for thought. Did I? I don't remember if I racked the charging handle. I don't want to like double feed. Okay, here we go. Fun mode. I'm gonna, since I overgas a little bit, I'm gonna do like a burst first and then we'll just let it fire. Here we go. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, super interesting. No BBs are coming out. There's some broken BBs inside of the mag. Give me a second, I'm gonna try and fix that. That's why it didn't stop. I can't necessarily blame that on the replica, maybe the speed loader. I did get just that BB out. This is the same gas fill. I don't know how many BBs are left in here, but we're gonna run it. And there we go. We have a successful stop on empty. No BBs in the chamber. Let's load it again. Gas fill 1, mag 2. Hopefully we got no broken BBs. Bang. That had to be a little more than half of that mag, I would assume. Not bad. The full auto is fun, but I feel like we should be getting a little bit better efficiency out of that. I don't know what the end pass is set at too, so keep in mind if I'm letting a lot of gas out, the efficiency is going to be worse. If I do it again and I tighten up the valve, we'll see a higher gas efficiency. But let's go test the FPS and see where it's at, and then we'll test the high and the low. I do my due diligence. I took this guy out, I cleaned it, I re-lubricated it, and I don't do this because particularly I want to see these kinds of things as we go forward, even though you should do it with the new replica anyway. Loctite things in place. The rear sight just started wiggling out on me, so I'm going to go Loctite some stuff in place as well, and then we'll come back. Inside the box came a bag, and inside that bag was a few Allen keys, and I believe the tinier one is the right size for the end pass. At least I hope so. Again, to adjust your power output, all you're going to do is pull that pin out, pull the slide back and off, push forward your recoil assembly, and then as long as you're in semi or auto, you can pull out the bolt. And we have to adjust that little small grub screw inside of the nozzle. Now, what we should notice is the grub screw pulling the valve backwards or forwards. So what we're going to do is insert this guy into the nozzle nice and carefully, figure out where it catches. There we are, we sat in. And then we're going to twist it in, maybe it'll click. Okay, no click, I don't think. Pull it out and retwist it. And I'm going to slowly close that off and we'll see what kind of power we're getting. We'll see the max and the minimum power. On one end, let's see what kind of power output we're getting. And I'm going to just leave the dust cover off because you can, and it should make it quicker and easier to change out afterwards. Brand new mag filled with gas and 0.25 gram BBs. Let's get the chronograph ready for the 0.25s. We're all set and ready to roll. All right, here we go. That's 246 at 0.7 joules, 242 at 0.68 joules, 236 FPS at 0.65 joules, 241 FPS at 0.68 joules, and then 237 FPS at 0.65 joules. Let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. Backing again from where we were. Keep my fingers out of the way of the hole there. That's 454 FPS at 2.39 joules. 450 FPS at 2.36 joules, 449 FPS at 2.34 joules, 443 FPS at 2.29 joules, and lastly we're looking at 444.6 FPS at 2.3 joules. So obviously if we look through, you can see on the lowest end we're looking at like the 240 FPS range, and on the highest end we're cranking close to 450. So you really have a lot of wiggle room there. Cool, so why don't we test out the accuracy? I'm gonna do some far away shots, and then we'll do some like close quarters aggressive stuff. I only have one mag, so I can't be doing any like reloads or anything like that, unfortunately. I only picked up one mag for now because it was either multiple mags or 2 replicas to review, and stay tuned because there's another one on the way. Why don't we test out its accuracy? We'll do it at like a decent distance. And I'll turn on the scope cam because I actually have that set up and ready to go. Keep in mind it's on the side of the replica, so it'll be a little off center, but at least you can see what's going on. And I'll step out to about 80 to 100 feet, and we'll work with the body size target. Here we go. These are just irons. I think I just exploded that BB. There we go. So we had a couple random flyers, but I mean, all in all, it stays pretty on target. I mean, it was no NWS, but it's still a rip. Dang, that's fun. Was it the most accurate thing in the world? No. I mean, it's pretty good, honestly, for an AK, and I think being the Tokyo Marui Z system helps. I think a better bucking and inner barrel, which we will get to in the near future, are definitely going to help a ton. It is powerful, for sure, and you can also adjust the power, which is a huge plus if you have the V2. And gas efficiency wise, dependent on what power output you're pushing through that nozzle is going to depend on how gas efficient you're going to be. So if you have higher power, you can imagine your gas efficiency is going to be just a little bit less. And your lower power end, if you want some more efficiency because it's in the cold or something like that, that might be a better idea for you. So let's take it apart. Inside, so we don't lose parts, let's pop it open and see what's going on inside. Again, like we've done a ton of times already in the video, pop the pin out, pull this guy back, unlatch it from the 2 hooks. We're going to release the spring and guide rod. Depress the hammer, obviously make sure it's in semi, and pull the bolt back. Now let's take a look at those parts that we just took out. The bolt carrier is not steel, but it is aluminum on all parts. It's one relatively light but back heavy piece of metal. You can see the front too is kind of interesting. It's actually stabilized by 2 O-rings up in the front. So it'll help stabilize it inside the channel of the gas block, or the mock gas block. And the nozzle, reminiscent of the Tokyo Marui AKs, it's chunky, it's spring-loaded, little movement forward and backwards, little movement up and down. The end pass, again, just jam an Allen key through the center. You'll adjust the end pass. You can increase power, increase gas output, decrease gas output. But it's very similar to a lot of your AKs. The spring and guide rod are obviously steel parts, very similar to a lot of other AKs you're going to find. But what's really interesting is the buffer system on the back. If you can see, the buffer system is actually steel, and behind it, instead of a spring, it uses 2 extremely thick O-rings in order to cushion the blow of the bolt back on the buffer. Which is really cool because honestly, you could just replace those. O-rings are easier to get a hold of than proprietary springs. And that's all held in place with the single large Allen bolt that goes in the back. The dust cover is steel alongside an aluminum rail and aluminum parts for your rear sight. Anything like screws, pins, and everything are also going to be steel, and the entire cavity itself is hollow, with the exception of the 2 locking pins in the back. As we continue to break down and look at the receiver, you can see all of your QD points are steel. The entire selector switch and lower receiver are a stamped steel as well, and so are all of your rivets, pins, and screws. The mag catch as well is going to be steel, so that's a place that takes a lot of wear. The hammer system, on the other hand, you can see is very similar to Tokyo Marui's Z system, and by that, I mean it's not like an AK at all. There's not a big hammer protruding out the center. It's all designed to reduce the amount of wear on the blowback system and increase the longevity while functioning better for gas blowback replicas. As for all of our internals, they are some sort of a zinc or aluminum. Literally everything, even the inner bar of the fire selector. Obviously your springs and stuff are going to be steel. Now taking down the front end is actually pretty simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull off the scope cam, and we'll get into the front end and the hop-up unit. There's just a slew of screws and pins that we have to knock out in order to make that possible, and I'll actually take this guy off as well, just so you can kind of see. So it looks just like yours. Now what we're going to have to do is we'll start by pushing this pin out. We're going to punch this pin out at the base, just like this. Just like that. This pin will come loose. It's under spring tension, so it helps. I don't know if you could see, it's got that little metal spring in there. Helps to just push that guy up while you pull this guy out, and you could see where that little metal spring sits in place. Next are 2 screws. The first one is at the top of the foregrip, and the next one is at the front on the side. Now with this guy, it is clamshelled in place. There is another one on the opposite side, so you're going to need 2 Allen keys in order to get after it. Put one on the one side, one on the other side, and if we can break the seal that they have together, there it is. There's also a washer. Be careful, don't lose the washer. That screw comes out, and we should be able to knock that pin out as well. This is where that screw screwed into. The handguard will just slide up and apart. You can see just one giant polymer chunk, and then this guy, it's got that metal spring insert. It's pretty rigid and pretty rock solid. You can see that little bracket in the center. This part is what those 2 screws and pin go through, and it helps add a little extra spring tension to the grip to reduce movement between that and the mock gas tube. There's 2 grub screws I'm going to remove now, just on the inside of the steel trunnion. With those 2 removed, we'll put them aside, and the last thing you have to do is remove this screw right in the base of the trunnion. Let me tell you, it's in there. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of convincing. That screw out and loose. And one of the last things we want to do is drop out this pin right here. All we have to do is knock this out this direction. And we'll just push it from left to right. It should pop out pretty easy now. And you can see that guy, that big cut out there. Now, your outer barrel and your gas block should pop out. We don't need to do anything with those. And congratulations, you got your hop-up unit. Now, I'm not going to go all that much further than this, just because I do want to do a separate video where we upgrade the hop-up and the hop-up rubber on this. But here's your hop-up unit. It is plastic. It's got this dial on the side, and all it does is it pulls down a small insertion from this arm that wraps up and around at the top of the hop-up unit, creating a TDC. So we just got like a standard black rubber in there. I don't think it's anything super special. Everything is all back together. The AK-12 is looking lovely. Why don't we wrap things up? I'm just going to give you my real opinions, and we're just going to ramble on because there's a lot of things that I want to cover with this. First of all, the gas efficiency was decent. It wasn't great compared to how large the reservoir is, but when we saw that we have an end pass, obviously running this at a lower FPS, will likely give us a little bit more gas efficiency. Not a whole lot, but it will likely give us some more. I think the overall construction of this thing is solid. A lot of steel parts, a lot of moving parts that are designed off of trusted products like the Tokyo Marui Z system for their AKs. So I'd imagine that you shouldn't have any like long-term issues internally. I think it will function well, and like I said, it's designed to reduce wear and work with gas blowbacks, not to replicate their real steel counterparts. That's huge. I also think that its power output variability is great if you run the V2s. I think it's really sad the V1s don't have that capability. And then also, the ability to run on Tokyo Marui mags if you already have them lying around is also a huge plus. So, V2 system, just a huge win. In terms of accuracy, if you're the kind of person that's going to pick something up and run it straight out of the box, I mean, most of us can throw an aftermarket bucking and barrel in there anyways, so that's not a big deal. I think it was pretty consistent to begin with out of the box, though, and you shouldn't have a problem fielding this at an outdoor game right away, until you get all the parts to upgrade it. Even some more simple things, like when I had noticed that this pin was pretty loose, when you take it down, you quickly realize that it's under spring tension, so that's not going to fly out. And that's the same thing with this small little connection pin that sits between the front sight bracket. I think a few of my main complaints are the fact that some of the furniture is proprietary. If you're the kind of person that doesn't mind the look of it, I would say keep it. I actually really do like the handguard and the stock. I'm not worried about that. I wish this came with the ability to change it. I don't really understand why they molded it into one piece of plastic, and I wish it wasn't so like mushy up in this region. And I tried to tighten it. It helped a little bit, but it still has like this. I don't know if you could see it moving. It still moves just a little bit. I would appreciate slightly more gas efficiency. I really do like the look of the mags, though. And one last time before I set you free, something that I did notice, some like wear that I don't think should be existent, is on the bolt carrier. There is some weird amounts of wear. I should put this in semi. I keep forgetting to do that. On the upper portion of the gas tube. And I don't understand where that's coming from, if it's from screws or indentations up here or something, but it almost looks like something was like over screwed into it. I don't know. Oh, I found it. Those rivets. I guess it's just a QC thing. I haven't noticed any long-term problems, but keep in mind exposed parts like that are more likely to rust. Now again, this isn't sponsored, and if you're going to take a look at where WellPro is now and what they've been up to, I honestly think that they've been really taking some leaps and bounds in making some seriously solid GBBRs in the market, and they've been working with some trusted systems to begin with and doing it right, and not going just like their random own way. I don't know how compatible this thing is internally with like the AKZ system completely. I would love to test that out. I don't have a Tokyo Marui AK on hand right now, but if I ever get parts available, maybe we'll go ahead and interchange them. But for now, let me know what you think. Let me know if there's anything that I missed. I had a killer time, and I'll catch you in the next adventure. Peace.